It's funny because you've had one of those careers too, where you popped in different things over the years. Sona, we all love Step Brothers. You're a Step Brothers. You're a Step Brothers fanatic.
I do love it so much.
The way you popped in that must have, felt like
one carb.
That's right.
That's the thing I remember most about that movie.
Yeah. And I know that your arc in Parks and Rec was a little strange, right? When the show started, there's a story to it.
Well, I started at the end of season 2. I mean, I had auditioned for the show originally, but it wasn't even really for a specific role. It was so early that Mike was still, me and Rashida read together and blew it and was bummed. And then Party Down came along. So in a way, it sort of worked out well. I was able to do that because I didn't get the Parks pilot. And I'm so glad I was able to do Party Down. And then weirdly, Mike loved Party Down. And from that, asked me to come and join Parks. So it all sort of came around.
This is the inevitable question. Did you ever get to ask Mike, hey, man.
What the fuck?
What the fuck? I was here, remember, when I auditioned for you?
Yeah.
That's just something that, and it's so funny because we've had this experience here on this podcast where we're talking to iconic, legendary actors. And when they bring up the guy who snubbed them, the casting director, Harrison Ford, did it on this podcast. And he was like, the year was 1967.
He was still pissed about it.
He's pissed.
Yeah,
Jerry Tarkovsky.
Jerry Tarkovsky.
Yeah, and also, famously, Michael Jordan, when he was accepted into the, Basketball Hall of Fame, his speech was all a list.
Yeah.
He started listing people who, this guy benched me in 5th grade. Remember that? It's Josh Kellaway.
Yeah.
And
it's his fuel. That documentary, he's constantly bringing it. Yeah.
It's his fuel, but it does bring up the idea of you're working with someone who
rejected me.
I had this with.
I know. Wait, what are you saying? He should be pissed at Mike Schur?
No, not pissed.
You know what? You're right.
Yes.
God damn it.
This is the goal of my podcast.
To dig up old animosities.
Here's a very well-liked, Adam is a very well-liked actor, celebrity, critically acclaimed, his wonderful family. He's happy. He's having this big moment that will keep going. And all I want to do is get him mad.
I'm going straight to Mike's house after this.
Ding dong. Hey, Adam,
hey,
bang!
Asshole. Boom. Fuck you. And then we never speak again.
Yeah. Then later he hears the podcast. Oh, I see. Then he rings my bell. Oh, hi, Mike. Bang. Soon, just a cavalcade of people punching each other.
And just lawsuits for years.
Yeah, lawsuits for years. We're all tied up in the courts.
I never asked him, I think because I was just 100% sure why, which was I blew I sucked at auditioning. I hated it. Right. It was embarrassing. And I was just never very good at it. So I didn't walk out of there thinking I was going to get the job anyway.
We had this with Ray Romano, who he wanted to be a monologue writer for my show. Great comedian, great joke writer. We didn't have a slot, but he had a good packet and people knew him. So I met with him and sat across. He came into my office and, at the time I'm 32 years old.
Do you remember meeting him?
Vaguely. Yeah. And he was sitting there and he was real nervous. And I just kind of said that your stuff is great, but we didn't have an opening. So he goes from that experience to maybe a year later getting Everybody Loves Raymond.
Wow.
And then becoming this monolithic TV star.
Yeah.
I remember later on running into him and saying, so I was really bummed I didn't get that job. I'm like,
wow.
What are you talking about? Do you realize what we pay Monologue, right?
Wow.
Was it me? No, there wasn't an open. Ray, hello, Ray.
Yeah.
You're Ray Romano. That doesn't happen if you're with me writing,
You are profoundly wealthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of your great greatness.
You can buy and sell me 35.
That's
I know, but I think I could have done.
Are you sure you weren't talking to Bobcat Goldthwait?
No, I was talking to Cookie Monster. Cookies. Anyway, it's just I don't. I love people that just get stuck on something like that, and I'm trying to get you stuck on it, but it didn't work out.
Well, I am now. I'm obsessed. Al Pacino too. Did he say something about that? You guys had Al Pacino.
Yes, and he sat right where you're sitting, and he's one of my
that was
all-time.
A great interview.
And talk about I couldn't believe that I'm in. I mean, I bumped into him a couple of times. He had always been very sweet to me, knew who I was, would called me over to his table once. I mean, I couldn't believe that this guy. Yeah. There's of all the space in his brain, there's one cell that knows about me. Yeah. I couldn't believe it because I'm such a massive fan. But he was sitting here, and he was very in touch with no bitterness at all, but very much in touch with the fact that Coppola and the studio really didn't want him. Yeah. I mean, Coppola wanted him to have the role in The Godfather, but to be Michael, but studio didn't want him. Yeah. And then for maybe half the shoot of the movie, the studio doesn't like him. And Coppola is like, I know, he's not bringing it. He's not bringing it. And tells him that. Yeah. And he remembered being called over to Coppola's table at a restaurant, and Coppola didn't even stand up. Yeah,
you didn't ask him to sit down.
Didn't ask him to sit down. And so he was very much in touch with that and still is. And I remembered him saying to me, Conan, they didn't want me. They didn't want me. And I'm like, yes. But then you did get it, and you became the face
Michael
of the
Corleone.
Yes. For not one, but two of the greatest films ever made. And then you go on to do all this other iconic work, and it's like, I know, but they didn't want me, and it's just incredible, you know.
Al Pacino is
just to think.
I listened to his book that he was promoting here, and just him talking about scenes in The Godfather and how he finally convinced them he was right for the role from doing the scene where he shoots the two guys in the restaurant. Yep. But just thinking about at one point, there were people just working on that scene and trying to figure out how to do. It's just so weird to think that there was a time before that scene existed, and that scene is because of some decisions that people kind of guessed at and were just figuring it out.
Also, I love, and this has happened before too, I love the concept that there are crew people going, who the fuck is this guy?
I know.
And when they were shooting the opening of The Godfather, and it takes place at the big wedding at Marlon Brando's estate, and everyone's dancing and having fun, and they cut over to Michael and Kay, and he's really underplaying it. Yeah. He's just out of the army, and he's explaining who people are. Yeah. He's, that's Luca Brazzi. He works for my father. He takes care of. So what does your father do, Michael? But apparently those dailies came back, and the people at, I guess it was Paramount maybe, were like, who is this droopy noodle of a guy in a big army hat? He's terrible. Yeah.
And zero charisma.
Zero charisma. And he's not being, and the crew. The crew is like, what's with this guy? And apparently, the other time that happened, you're a graduate.
Yeah.
So Dustin Hoffman is, in the book, The Graduate is blonde-haired, blue-eyed, and so they wanted Robert Redford. That was just who it was supposed to be. And the big brave decision was, no, it's going to be this little-known actor, theater actor, Dustin Hoffman, who's not a blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid, and the crew and everyone is like, what the fuck? Yeah. This guy's mumbling.
Is this the same crew? What a bunch of assholes.
No, I know. Hey, trust me.
They didn't believe in what they were working on.
Oh my God. This is the crew I had at late night in 93, 94, and 95. Right. Because we inherited Dave's, and I swear to God, people were, I don't blame them, but they were like, they had just had David Letterman.
Wait, you had Dave's crew?
I had a third. His core. I had his camera, some of his camera, because they stayed behind. Sure. Dave went to CBS and took some people, but there was a core, and I don't blame them. There was cable pullers and stuff, and David Letterman, after 11 years of reinventing the format and dominating, has now gone on to greater heights. And they're like, they got this new kid. Here he comes, and I come in. And I'm like, hi, everybody. My name's Conan. I know. Anyway, I like improv. We're going to try some weird stuff. I don't know. I think it's going to be okay. Hey, does anybody, what dries up acne? Does anybody know? Like, I still had acne break out occasionally. And I'd be like, does anyone, because I use this stuff, but is there something better?
Oh, no.
And these hard, and
Why are you asking the crew about your acne?
I don't know. And these guys.
Just out to everyone asking if anyone has any recommendations.
I opened the shows with it often.
Yeah.
Hi, if anyone's out there watching, it just keeps. I think it might be cystic. I don't know. It comes back. But that was the thing that blew my mind was that, and I didn't blame them, but there were there were guys on my crew that had worked on Sullivan when the Beatles played there.
Wow.
And I would ask them, like, what was that like? And they were guys from Long Island.
Yeah.
You know, and they'd say stuff like, I don't know. I was mad because it's a Sunday night. I'm not supposed to work Sunday night. I'm out on the and then they call me because Steve I got to come in. And so I'm up in there. And but it was the Beatles. Yeah, it was the Beatles. And I'm like, there's a lot of, I don't know, that fucking hair. I don't know. And then I'm on the way home and then the carburetor blows out. So fuck that shit, you know, and I don't get paid overtime. And you're like, that's their memory of it.
Yeah. You're like, great. This was a really special talk that we just had. Thank you very much.